KGW News at sunrise.
It is 1 minute before 5 o'clock, and here's a look at our morning headlines. Police are searching for a missing Oregon State Hospital patient. He's 34-year-old Peace Wickham. He walked away during a group activity in Eugene yesterday, so Wickham is not considered to be a threat to others or himself. Still, though, police say if you do see him, you shouldn't approach him. Instead, call 911. A 4.5 magnitude earthquake hit outside San Francisco late last night. The epicenter was north of Walnut Creek. No injuries or significant damage has been reported, but a lot of people in the Bay Area say they did feel the shaking last night. Oregonians may soon be able to bring their own food containers to restaurants and grocery stores. I know, Brenda Braxton, you like to bring your own bags to the grocery stores. Perhaps soon you'll be able to bring your own food container. So according to the Statesman Journal, you aren't allowed to do that now under U.S. Food and Drug Administration rules because of the potential for cross-contamination, but the State Department of Agriculture is looking to change that. Those are your Tuesday headlines. Now here's what's coming up on Sunrise.
Okay, you've seen them on the street or maybe even in places you didn't expect, like running trails and really narrow staircases. We are catching up with the Portland Police Motorcycle Unit. Learn how they train in this morning's Sunrise 60 Plus.
Students who start school later have decreased rates of depression. They have higher test scores.
Those are just some of the reasons California lawmakers are requiring a later start time at schools. But not everybody is happy about that change. Why some parents and students say it is bound to cause problems.
I know we've all discussed how nice it would be to have a later start time on this show.
Oh, yes. 4:30 and 5 too early.
It is the Sunrise Show, and Rod Hill, correct me if I'm wrong, we're still a couple of hours away from sunrise.
Oh, we are. Would you watch our show if we didn't go on until 9 o'clock in the morning? My hand's up. Here we are, 44 degrees outside, partly cloudy skies to mostly clear. It's going to be a nice day today, and we stay dry. Take advantage. Rain starts tomorrow, and then it's pretty wet the rest of the week. I have us at 57 at lunchtime, 62 when the kids go home. We should bump into the mid-60s for a high temperature. We'll track tomorrow's rain coming up with Futurecast shortly.
All right, thank you, Rod. A family in Fairview got a huge scare. They say a stranger made his way into a 6-year-old girl's bedroom over the weekend. That man was arrested, but he's already been released, and the girl's family is not happy. Tim Gordon is live in the newsroom this morning. Tim, understandably, they say they don't feel safe at home now.
Yeah, Brenda, it certainly is understandable. They say their privacy and security were violated by the man, and he's already back on the street. Now, we're not using the family's last name at their request, but the mom, Tanya, says what happened Saturday evening was terrifying. She and an older daughter were home when they heard a scream from the 6-year-old's bedroom. They ran in to see what was wrong and found a stranger, sitting there on the little girl's bed. A relative who was visiting got him out of the house and took this video of the man, whose name is Jesse James. Tanya's husband made it home about that, and they wrestled James to the ground until police arrived. But again, James was arrested and released.
I'm terrified he's going to come back. You know, I don't know what his intentions were, so it's really scary.
You guys need to lock your doors and be aware of this guy. He's not a friendly guy. He's a violent person.
Why did you come to the house?
Yeah, James has had run-ins with police more than once in the last several years. In fact, just a few days before this, he was arrested for disorderly conduct. And Tanya and Virgil mean it when they say don't leave your doors unlocked. They'll be locking theirs from now on because they say you just never know who might try and get in. Guys, back to you.
All right, Tim, thanks a lot. That story obviously scary enough. This next story, pretty scary too, Brenda.
Absolutely. It is a concern for parents. A grandmother says that a thief jumped into her car and took off while her 6-year-old grandson was inside.
I was losing it. All I could see is my kid in a car, my car, going in the opposite direction than I'm going. And I tried to run down the street, and I was waving and screaming and saying, stop. You've got my kid in there. Jack's in the car. And of course, nobody could hear it.
That's Terry Stinson. She said she was standing outside her car talking to somebody in Southeast Portland when this all happened on Sunday night. Her car was running and her grandson Jack was inside playing on her phone when a guy got in and drove away. Luckily, a few blocks later, the man told Jack to get out.
I was scared. I was down by myself.
But he's a brave little guy. I mean, Terry says that Jack obviously is pretty shaken up. When the man got in the car, Jack did the right thing and he used his grandma's phone to call his dad. Police are still looking for the suspect, but right now they do not have a detailed description of him.
All right, good for that young man. Again, only 6 years old. More local news. As of midnight, all flavored nicotine and THC vaping products are banned in Oregon. So that ban is set to last 6 months. The OLCC will start checking in on stores today to make sure that they're following these new rules. Stores that violate the ban could face fines up to $500 each day they break the rules. We spoke with local store owners and people who vape yesterday. Christine Pitawanich will have more on their reaction to the ban coming up at 5:30.
Okay, with that ban in place, a lot of people who vape may be looking to quit, but it's not that easy.
As cases of vaping-related respiratory illness continue to pop up, a lot of people are talking about quitting vaping. But it turns out that can be harder than quitting smoking. Let's connect the dots. The outbreak has left a couple dozen people dead and has been a wake-up call about the dangers of vaping. Scientists are still trying to understand why vapers are all of a sudden getting seriously ill, and whether nicotine products or THC cartridges are the problem. But some vapers are ready to call it quits. Addiction experts say quitting vaping is different than quitting smoking, and it can be tougher. That's because devices like Juul contain high concentrations of nicotine and are smoother to inhale. When it comes to Juul, one nicotine pod is equal to 1 pack of cigarettes, and users can go through a pod in just a couple of hours. So, how do you quit? It's complicated, but first off, get a support system, and also try nicotine replacement treatments like gum or patches.
The Oregon Health Authority also offers some resources. You can call 800-QUIT-NOW or visit the Quit Now website where you can chat with a coach. There's also a program called This Is Quitting. It's a coaching program for teenagers, but it's done through text messages. Teens and college students who have quit e-cigarettes helped create this. It provides good recommendations about quitting with the advice tailored by age groups. We've posted a link where you can find out more. Our app, it is under the news link section.
We talked about this story yesterday morning. Last night it became official. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler officially launching his re-election campaign at an event where he was joined by supporters and local business leaders. So Wheeler said the homeless crisis is his #1 priority. He also says he's proud of what the city has done so far under his leadership.
We are completely changing the service delivery system with the street response pilot, which will connect people on the streets who are in crisis with mental health professionals and other service providers. We're making a bigger play around addiction services. We're working to go into the community for people who aren't in shelters and connect them to whatever services they need to get off and stay off the streets.
So at this point, the mayor has just one registered challenger. She is Sarah Iannarone. Iannarone says Mayor Wheeler has not lived up to the promises he made during his initial run for office.
In other political news, efforts to oust Governor Kate Brown have failed. The man behind the campaign called Flush Down Kate Brown turned in petition signatures at the Capitol yesterday. But the Secretary of State's office says he did not have enough support to get that recall on the ballot. He needed more than 280,000 signatures. The state Republican Party had its own recall campaign, but it didn't even turn in the signatures knowing there weren't enough.
An end came yesterday to a story we've been following for months. Alpenrose Dairy, a staple here in Portland for more than 100 years, has been sold. Smith Brothers Farms out of Washington made that announcement yesterday that they purchased the dairy. The deal has been in the works for months now, but some members of that family that have owned and operated the Alpenrose Dairy operation for a past century, we're talking again more than 100 years, they fought in court to stop this sale. But one of the big questions now remains, what will happen to the property? Because in Southwest Portland, Alpenrose Dairy has been home to community events like the Easter egg hunt, the Little League Softball World Series. A lot has happened there over the years. Smith Brothers says about 50 acres of the property will stay in the hands of the current owners. Smith Brothers also plans to lease the part of the property where the dairy operations are located.
Okay, check this out. A Canadian kayaker has been traveling on the Columbia River for the last 3.5 months, and she plans on wrapping up the journey today. Wow, that looks just gorgeous and peaceful. This is Claire Dibble. She started paddling in British Columbia, and yesterday she reached Astoria. Claire is a photographer, and she wanted to learn more about the river. She says although industry and transportation is using a lot of the river, she challenges herself and others to find the connection with nature.
That we all are capable of feeling something, some kind of connection to nature, regardless of how remote or how pristine the environment might be that we're in. I'd like to think that we could, like, during a daily commute, notice how beautiful the sunset is, or notice a dandelion growing up through the cracks in concrete and be able to appreciate the incredible gifts of nature.
So as for the paddling itself, Claire says lightning storms and the wind created the biggest challenges that she faced out there. Oh, that's so gorgeous. I'm just loving her pictures. If you're interested in learning more about her journey, she is giving a talk at the Fort George Brewery in Astoria this coming Friday.
The home of many a good beer down there at Fort George. We talked at the beginning of this half hour how early it is when we start the show. So really the only thing I notice when I'm driving into work is how darn dark it is.
Yes, very dark.
Still dark out there right now, Rob.